Right. They didn't used to do that. They didn't used to tell everybody verbally that it's being recorded. All right, who wants to share some good news real fast? Then we'll move right into the heart of the meeting. Anyone making any money? Having fun? Anyone meet any nice people? Anyone familiarize yourself with a part of town they didn't know, or see a property that, go into some properties and figure out like what can you buy with 300 grand in Roswell and 400 grand in Roswell and 600 grand in Roswell? Who's doing some market research? Is this thing working?
Go to USPS.com and type in part of an address, like at an apartment complex. It'll give you all the apartment numbers for that complex, so you can get a list for free without having to pay for it.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Say that again, please.
Okay,
Wait. Ebony's coming in. I want her to hear this. All right, go.
Okay, so I went because I was trying to get all the numbers for an apartment complex to send out flyers.
Yeah.
But I'm like super cheap, so I didn't want to pay for a list. So I went to I think it's USPS.com, whatever the post office website is. And if you like put in like part of, it'll give you all of the numbers associated with that address that are like a possibility. So all the apartment numbers came up for that apartment complex. And so I was able to get them all without having to pay for a list.
That is brilliant. So sometimes when you're in an apartment, I guess apartments are usually like, let's say 2222 Peachtree Dunwoody apartment something, right?
Right.
And then a lot of times with like condos and stuff, they switch it and they'll say like, 2222 Peachtree Dunwoody is one condo and 2223 at Peachtree Dunwoody is another condo, right? That's really, really smart because you don't know if it's like they're 3-digit numbers or 4-digit numbers or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't call you cheap. I would just call you intelligent, right? We need to lead with revenue. If there's a way we can save money, let's do it, right? Hey, we can get leads on Facebook for less than $2 a piece. You just bought yourself a bunch of leads if you choose to go in that direction. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Great job. Great job. All right, I want to show everyone just one quick thing. It's been a while since I've done this. And then we're going to move right into the heart of the class today. I want to remind everyone that on FMLS, Donna Patrick was kind enough to edit our daily reporting sheet. And one of the things that I thought was a great idea that she put on there, here she comes, was a little spot on the daily success tracker where it basically it said like, okay, the stats. Okay, so for example, there's in the last 7 days in Metro Atlanta, in the 41 FMLS Metro Atlanta counties, there's been 1,880 new listings. Okay, 1,110 properties have gone under contract, and that's actually probably a little on the low side because there's 2 different under contract statuses, pending and active under contract. So at least 1,110 properties have gone under contract in the last 7 days. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. Oh, and there's also been 1,525 homes that have closed. So we can talk all we want about the pandemic. The fact of the matter is there are 1,880 real estate agents. I'm sure some have done more than one, but let's just assume there's 1,880 real estate agents that earned a listing this week, right? If we went back to a 24-hour period, guys, there's 437 real estate agents that took business yesterday. Why not you? Does that make sense? So I love this little widget here called Market Watch on FMLS's My Matrix homepage. And you can set up a custom search if you'd like, but otherwise you can just look to see, okay, my new listings back on the market, price increases, price decreases. We actually have price increases in the marketplace, which is nuts, okay? closed, expired, it's active under contract. See what I'm saying? All right. Let me tell you a couple of quick calendaring things, and then we're going to move right into the thing.
And Bill,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say good morning, on Remind. If you go to Remind, just on the very first page.
Oh, are you asking me to do that?
Well, I'm just saying, or I can share. There's a market pulse, and it talks. The market pulse talks about everything you can do it the last 7 days, yesterday, the last 30 days. You want me to share my screen right quick?
Sure. Hang on one second. Okay, you can share it now.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, see
Yes.
market pulse. That's just right when you very first sign into Remind, that's what you get. And then you just can adjust it right here. And you can adjust it right here too in the zip code you want to do. That's all.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Here are a couple calendaring things I just want to review with you. Today, we're doing a growth mastermind in this room from 11 to 12. Okay, 11 to 12. The next thing I want to review is tomorrow, we're doing a launch mastermind, and that is going to be from 12 to 1. That will be in Candace's room. Next Monday will be off, so no morning meetings. You guys enjoy your time away, be with your family, catch up, whatever you need to do. No sessions next Monday. And then next Tuesday, during lead gen time, so right after our morning huddle, Michelle Slater is going to be generating leads in public in the big room. So you get a chance to watch her if you'd like to participate in that. By the way, that is not like watch Michelle make one call and then talk to her about that call for the next 2 hours. This is her time to make calls, and your job is to either make calls or watch her make calls, right? And learn and take notes. There'll be other time for recap and questioning, okay? And then next Wednesday, we're going to do an all-day lead generation effort at the Market Center. You can do it virtually if you'd like. But next Wednesday, the 2nd, my intention, I can print up some lists for you of from Cole or Vulcan 7 or any of that kind of stuff. What I want you guys to do, if you can, is come to the office and we're going to kill the phones that day. Okay. We are going to make sure that we've set the appointments we need so we can get a good head start for the month. We're going to add some people to our database. We're going to convert some people into appointments. We're going to build our pipelines. We're going to make lots of contacts. Okay. We used to do this last year. We called it the Bold 100. And the initiative was basically, can you talk to 100 people in a day? And every time somebody got anywhere close to that, they built their database, they built their pipeline, and they booked appointments. So I want to encourage you guys to use this as an opportunity to kind of front load your month, particularly with the summer and kids out and all that kind of stuff. We can kind of have a tendency to let our business kind of go down the priority list. So I don't want that to happen to you guys. Okay. And then do not forget, right at 9 o'clock today, we're going to cut this off so we can go over to the Bold local, what's called Step Into Bold. If somebody would be so kind to post a link for that here, that would be fantastic. And we can just all move right over to that class. There's no cost or obligation to going to that today. Okay. Any questions?
Bill, quick question. Wednesday, what time is that?
We're just going to be at the office pretty much all day. So we'll have this meeting, the morning meeting. And then the goal is for you to be scattered around the office making calls, or we'll even have the Zoom room open all day if you'd like, and people can do that virtually as well. Cool. Okay, guys, I posted a document called the Seller Checklist and Information Sheet. Thank you, Candace. In the chat this morning. And I want to just walk you through a couple of things because today our topic is, wait, does anyone else have a question? Okay. Our topic is evaluating offers and servicing listings. Okay. So let me kind of try to simplify this a little bit for you. Okay. We service listings by having systems. It's just that simple. Okay. So these are two systems that I'm going to encourage you to adopt immediately to control and organize your business. One, and you can take it from me right here for free, okay? And you can edit it however you'd like. You know, it's totally your document, okay? There's please take it off of the WhatsApp first, or take it off of the Google Drive, and then let me rephrase that. Make a copy from the Google Drive so that it becomes your own, and leave the original on the Google Drive untouched, if you don't mind, okay? Now, I'll really quickly walk you through this checklist. This is the action that you take, okay? Did you do it? Nice and simple. Did you do it? Yes or no? What date did you do it? And are there any notes that need to be discussed here? And notes is like, this was a sheet that my assistant and I were working back off of, you know, backwards, and, you know, I would do some tasks, she would do some tasks. Basically everything that was in regular font, let me just double check. Yeah, everything in regular font is something that I would do as the agent, and everything that was in bold type is what the assistant would do, okay? Now, I kind of want you to see it this way, even if you're a solo agent, because you should all be thinking to yourself, hey, I am a business owner, right? And a portion of my day is spent doing things that are in my 80%, right? And a portion of my day is doing things that are in my 20%. If you guys know what I'm talking about, the 20%, this is Pareto's principle. He was an Italian economist, okay, and from the 1800s. And if you guys are familiar with this, his research suggested that 20% of our efforts yield 80% of our results. Okay, a good example of that in real estate is going on appointments, or lead generating, or lead follow-up. Okay, that kind of effort is going to yield 80% of the results. And the inverse is true, which means 80% of our effort will yield 20% of the results. A good example of that would be making a flyer, or updating your website, or something like that, right? Where it feels like work, but it's not going to move the needle to the degree that the other stuff will. Okay, so throughout your tending to a buyer file or a seller file, I want you to be thinking about, when am I working in my 20% and when am I working in my 80%? Because ultimately the goal is to work so hard in the 20%, lead gen, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating, and practicing, that you create so many opportunities that you can bring on somebody else to manage this stuff. Does that make sense? It's kind of like if you went into a coffee shop and there was one person, or let's say a sandwich shop, and there was one person working there, right? They opened the place, they ordered all the food, they made all the sandwiches, they rang up everybody, they cleaned all the tables, they closed down the place. How many sandwiches do you think they'd serve? Not that many. How many customers they'd get? Well, they'd be pretty packed the first day, because everyone would want to come out and check out the new sandwich shop. And then they'd see, oh my gosh, these people have one person working here. Are they insane? Okay, service sucks, we're leaving. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so nice and simple. Did we do it? When do we do it? And what do we need to know about the next steps? This is the more important page for today's purposes, which is just an informational page, right? So a lot of the stuff that you might have to recall, you know, during the transaction, like the current list price, the original list price, when the listing expires, what the lockbox code is, what the CBS code is, all the details about the offer, like what was the offer date, the binding date, the due diligence expiration, the financing expiration, the appraisal expiration, all that stuff, right? Any special notes like possession changes, or you know, reminders to like furnish the receipts of home and, you know, renovations or whatever to the other party. Any of that kind of stuff can be noted here, right? Who's the lender and what's their contact information? Who's the closing attorney? What's their contact information? Who's the other agent on the side of the deal? What's their information, right? And this was particularly important for an assistant, because then, you know, if I said, hey, I need amendment number 1 needs to read this way, she could just go right here and basically have all the information she needs, okay, or he needs. Now, so I would encourage you to have some type of an informational sheet for each of your active files, okay? So how do we service a listing, right? One of the most important things that I want to get across to you guys today is not only is it super important to have a record of all the things that need to happen, but it's super impressive or super necessary to remind your client what's happening next. Okay. The worst thing that can happen in a transaction, particularly in this environment, if you're on the seller side, because you're going to put the home on the market, you're going to get multiple offers, it's going to go under contract pretty quickly. Most of the time, there's not a whole lot of, appraisal stuff and repairs and all that stuff. It's pretty easy to be a seller's agent right now, right after the initial onslaught. And therefore, if you don't communicate to your client what you're doing, they think you're overpaid. Okay. So for example, if you list the home and the next time they hear from you is when you get an offer, and the next time they hear from you is when you show up at the closing and you walk away with 15 grand, they're going to come up to you and be like, how do I become a realtor? Which wouldn't be a bad thing. But the other thing they could come up to you and say is, I don't think you earned it. Right. And question whether you earned it. So the way you avoid that is you let them know all the things you're doing. Hey, just wanted to let you know I called 300 of your neighbors today, and I invited them to the open house that'll be on Sunday. And I was able to secure a couple of referrals from your neighbors of their friends that may want to move to the area, and I'll be calling them right after I get done typing this email to you. Now, is that impressive? Yes. Right. Hey, I want to let you know we're hosting an open house. I just went ahead and got all the signs placed out, and they'll be picked up Sunday afternoon when the open house is over. Right. You just want to let them know you're doing the work. Okay. Now, another thing that is on this sheet is weekly updates. Now, I typed in weekly because I tend to see that as the most common kind of communication frequency that people enjoy. But I would always ask your client, right? I want to make sure that my communication standards meet your communication standards. So how frequently would you like updates on what's going on with your file? And if they say, I'd like them daily, you have to, quite honestly, you have to determine if you're willing to do that, right? But if you got one file, I guess it's no big deal. But if you got 20 files, you're gonna have to have a system for that, right? It might be, okay, well, I'll send you a WhatsApp voicemail every day letting you know what happened, right? More often than not, they're going to say, once a week is fine. Okay, well, I normally do that on Fridays. Is that okay with you? Yep, that's great. Okay, so now if I got an active listing, they know that on Friday, they're going to get a call from me telling them what's going on in the file. So if they don't get a call from me, I want them to call the police because I'm on the side of the road somewhere, right? Because that's a standard. And I make that call every week. Follow? I'm kind of being kidding, but I'm not kidding. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, what does that require? If I make phone calls every Friday to my active clients and give them an update on what's going on, where does that need to appear? Let's get some interaction here, guys. Take yourself off mute. Tell me where that needs to appear. Come on now, come on. Somebody answer me. I'll give you a hint. It kind of looks like this. Y'all see that? What is this? Is that a calendar? Seriously, can somebody please let me know that
It's a
they're on?
checklist.
Okay. Oh, it didn't, I changed my thing. It didn't show up.
No, I see the checklist.
Okay, I'm glad somebody's out there. Thank you, thank you. Okay, it needs to appear on your calendar, right? And it needs to be respected, right? Because it's a system and really it's a standard, okay? So now let's talk about offers for a second, okay? One more thing before we go to offers. We're gonna get onslaughted with showings, okay? So my recommendation for you handling showings on a listing is to use whatever showing service you want. I'm not a big fan of Showing Time, but it seems to be the winner these days, okay? Showing Time is owned by Zillow, by the way, if you don't know that. And every bit of data that they can squeeze out of our real estate transactions, they are trying to do, okay? For their own benefit, not for yours. All
Is
right.
there a list of other options?
I'm sure there are. I don't know them offhand, but I know there's like, I think there's one called Showingly and then one called like Showing Suite or something like that. There's some other options out there. Regardless of what it is, you want to create a system around how you monitor that. So a good example would be, let's just use Showing Time for example. You'd say, hey, all showings need to go through Showing Time. Okay. And ultimately what you have is you could print out a list of everyone that has come in the building, come into the home, when they came in, and you can print that out, not only to share with the seller if the activity is questioned, but also to make notes of any feedback, right? So you might want to have a little feedback form or something like that. It's not so relevant in today's market just because it's so wild out there. But normally speaking, a showing would happen and they wouldn't submit an offer 10 minutes later, and you wouldn't have multiple offers within an hour. And you'd actually have to make some follow-up phone calls, right? And then you can make note of, Joe from Solid Source thought the bedrooms were too small. Sarah from Caldwell Banker thought the backyard was too small. Stephen from Keller Williams and Perimeter Mall thought they really liked the home. They might be submitting an offer. They want the disclosure sent to them. Right, so you have a method of tracking all the people that have gone into the home and a method of what they think about the home. And is there any potential that they might like to move forward? Okay, so once we have a record of all of that stuff, then we're gonna have some offers most likely. So I also have, I have to dig a little bit for it, but I used to have a spreadsheet that basically highlighted, and I think Candace did this a couple of weeks ago. She posted it in there. Maybe Candace, you could find that document where you're evaluating offers, and
yeah.
you would basically have something that looked like, like an Excel spreadsheet: offer 1, offer 2, offer 3, offer 4, offer 5, right? And then the highlights of all of the offers. So the highlights might be sales price, any seller concessions like closing costs or home warranties or anything like that, the type of loan and down payment that the buyer prospect is the agent and the brokerage that agent is coming from, when they want the deal to close, whether there's any possession stuff, do you want the possession to change at closing or after closing, anything like financing contingencies, due diligence periods, earnest money, who holds the earnest money, right? Some of the main kind of page 1 type stuff. And then you have kind of a matrix where you can share it with the seller prospect, right? And say, okay, here's the pros and cons of offer 1. Here's the pros and cons of offer 2. Here's the pros and cons of offer 3, right? We have this is really rudimentary, but one of our agents the other day called me and she has 3 offers, and she wanted some help kind of evaluating them. So I scribbled down her 3 offers on this little sheet of paper, and I walked her through why one might be more advantageous than the other, right? What type of lender do they have? Have I spoken to the lender? These kind of things, okay? And that way, what you do is you help them kind of see, you're weighing which ones are the most important things, right? So it's not always the case that they want the most money, right? I have a seller that's probably going to come on the market in a couple week or so, right? And he had one kind of really kind of funky financial situation thing, and at that moment he was more concerned about when he closed than how much he got. Now that's been resolved, and so now that's not a factor. But so there are other things involved beyond just the number of dollars that the guy or the woman gets to put in their pocket. Okay, so that's why it's super important to ask your client, of course, what's most important to you when you receive an offer. And let's focus on that as we're evaluating these offers. Okay, what risks are we taking? Right? What are the possible benefits to using this or working with this particular buyer? And of course, when you're on the buyer side, you're asking the listing agent, hey, tell me a little bit about what you guys are experiencing. Do you have multiple offers? Is there anything in particular that you're looking for? What's the most important thing that's your seller is going to be looking for when they review these offers, right? What is it going to take to win, basically, right? You remember Ben's talk during team meeting the other day, and he said basically everyone is just asking for help, right? So the listing agent is swamped. They are stressed because they got 40 offers that they got to put into this matrix and try to make sense of it all. Okay. So Trent comes along and he says, well, I'm a good buyer's agent. I'm just going to ask Candace, the listing agent, say, Candace, I'm sure you are overwhelmed right now. Let me try to make this easy for you. I will be the best co-op agent you have ever had. Okay. I am working with the most qualified buyer ever, with the best lender ever. In fact, I got her on the phone if you want to speak to her. Okay. We are flexible on the closing date. We are flexible on this and that and this and that. What will it take to win? My goal for you, or my goal, is to make this as painless as possible. What would you like me to put in these blanks here? Because I want to work together. And Candace says, oh gosh, I've been waiting for a call like this. Just give me $275 and no closing cost and close in April and we're good. And you're like, cool. See what I'm saying? Make sense, everybody? Any questions?
Yes, and I can't tell you the number of times that I don't even get a heads up that an offer is coming, that I just look at my emails twice a day and there's an offer sitting there with no explanation, no cover letter, no nothing. And it just doesn't send the right message.
What and let's get raw for a second. What message does it send?
It sends a, I don't care, here it is, do what you want with it message.
Right. And if I were to call you and say what I just said, Candace, what message does that send?
I would put that offer up on the top of, the ones to consider. If it were a resume, it would go to the top of the stack.
And when you're communicating with your seller and trying to make it easy for your seller, right? Because that's what you do, because the seller's probably also overwhelmed. They got 40 offers. So your little matrix spreadsheet that you create is going to be super helpful. And then they're going to want you to explain it to them, right? So when you're explaining it to them, are you going to chime in that, hey, offer number 17, that agent is awesome. Offer
Yes,
number 16 through 35, those agents haven't called me, so they're not as awesome.
well, yeah, I'm going to probably say something like, we've gotten a number of offers. This one is competitive, but I've spoken with the agent who sent this one. I have some confidence that this agent will get the job done. That everybody can write terms in a contract, but it's the contract to close that really is important to us. So let's work with somebody that we know is going to get it done. How do you feel about that?
Right. And one of the first clues that I use when I'm evaluating offers is who's got a buttoned up offer, right? Are there misspellings? Are there things left blank? Are there mistakes? Right? Like somebody in one of the financing contingencies in this offer, or one of the offers from this lady, it was the loan document was certainly filled out wrong. They said they were getting a 16% loan instead of 16% down payment. So it might be a typo, I don't know, but it could have been an agent that didn't know what the hell they were doing, right? And that now I have to go and clarify that. So now you've given me work. This is supposed to be easy, right? Don't give me more work to go make your offer legitimate. You see what I'm saying? So just as a sidebar, if you are unfamiliar with the offer processes, okay, and you're not sure you understand the financing stuff, and you're not sure you understand the ins and outs of a purchase and sale agreement, there are a number of videos in our weekly email that review just that. Okay. And Candace, can you post that Zoom link, please, in the announcements page as well? Thank you. There are a number of, where was I going with that? This is a test. Who is listening? Anne wants to respond.
We were talking about the difference between an agent that submits an offer with an explanation and one that doesn't.
Yes. So basically, If you are not familiar with some of these documents, go to the weekly email and watch some of the videos that we've done on financing overview and the purchase and sale agreements and FHA loan exhibit and all that stuff. And if you want some practice, go fill out a dummy contract and send it to us to review. And we'll walk you through the document to make sure everything reads exactly the way that it should. So when it comes time to do this for a real buyer or seller, the other agent will be impressed because you'll have a flawless contract. Make sense?
Sounds good.
All right, guys. I appreciate you as always. I'm going to go get some bold training right now, and I
too.
look forward to seeing the growth group at 11 o'clock.
Thanks, Bill.
Mhm.